We are now joined by Evan Weiss, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Newark Alliance. Good to see you, Evan.
Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
You got it. We'll put up the website right away. Tell everyone what the Newark Alliance is and why it's more significant now than ever.
So the Newark Alliance is the collection of nearly all of Newark's major institutions. That's corporations like Prudential and Audible. It's universities like Rutgers and NJIT, the major arts centers, small businesses, law firms, etc. What it really tries to do is bring together the major players in the city to drive inclusive economic growth in Newark. It's more important now than ever because COVID, frankly, and the need to recover from the pandemic from an economic perspective, and also in the wake of George Floyd from a racial equity perspective. So both of those missions are key to the broader mission of the Alliance, but the experience in Newark right now is just showing us that we need to be back. We need to be driving economic activity for both the big and small businesses.
Evan, the term anchor institutions is used a lot. Describe what that means, not just to Newark, but to a Camden, to a Trenton, Jersey City, places in Brooklyn, other places we are seen outside of New Jersey, but we're a New Jersey-centric series. What's an anchor institution?
So traditionally, an anchor institution was defined as really what people also call eds and meds, so educational institutions and medical institutions like hospitals, meaning entities within a city that provide a degree of grounding of economic activity in the face of, for example, in the past, deindustrialization. So a lot of economic development strategies were based off those, whether it's something like Cooper Hospital in Camden or Mass General in Boston. It's a very common approach. In Newark, we like to define it a little differently. We're fortunate to have had Prudential here for almost 150 years. They're an anchor institution. PSEG, same thing, over 100 years in this city. So while we are absolutely grateful to have excellent medical and healthcare more broadly and arts and education partners, we want to be inclusive and to recognize the potential that these great companies have had in this city over time and what they can do, again, to drive wealth for economic activity for all Newark.
Evan, the other side of this, being born and raised in Newark and still having a pretty strong connection to the city in a lot of ways, we know that real estate prices have gone up considerably. The value of real estate, particularly in the downtown area of the city, more valuable than ever before, more expensive than ever before. But in and around Penn Station, right? The problem with homelessness is huge. And the question becomes, as real estate values go up, as the cost of living in that part of the city of Newark goes up, does it not de facto push people out because it's simply not affordable?
So I think both Governor Murphy and Mayor Baraka have been real leaders on the homelessness issue in particular, but also the idea of needing to establish more affordability in Newark. So I think the answer to this is that we need to see inclusive and equitable development throughout the city. And I think it's being tackled in two ways, which is, for example, the Shack Tower that just went up.
I wanted to ask you about the Shack Tower and a little bit about Queen Latifah as well and Mo Vaughn, all Newarkers who have done pretty important things. Talk about the Shack Tower and how that's connected to affordable housing, please, Evan.
So the Shack Tower is going to be the largest multifamily building in Newark. It's a huge development, generational development, but what's so incredible about it is premised on the idea of preserving a large-scale number of affordable units in the heart of the downtown. So this same building will be both one of the most luxurious buildings in all of Newark and New Jersey.
Excuse me, we're talking about the Shack, Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal, Mr. O'Neal, yes.
Okay.
So
exactly.
Newark native, born and bred here. This is actually his second of hopefully 3 projects in Newark. He also did the movie theater, further out into the wards. So, but there is a huge number of affordable units in this building. And I think that principle is one that both the Alliance, Mayor Baraka, and the governor have made clear, that if you want to develop big in Newark or anywhere in New Jersey, you need to have affordable set-asides.
So you're talking they were talking about a lot of big businesses you mentioned who are anchor institutions, a big project like the Shaquille O'Neal project, big stars like Queen Latifah, et cetera. What about small business? Where is the place for small business in all this equation?
To me, it's one of the central questions is how do we get small business more connected to the bigger anchor institutions in this city. And I think you can think about this from just who's going to lunch, seeing how fewer people have come back to Newark and what that's meant for small business, for restaurants, is something we're really struggling with on how to address. One of the whole ideas of an anchor institution is to drive economic activity, and that means to small business. If all of the different anchor institutions that are part of the Alliance are getting their catering orders from Newark businesses instead of a national chain, that's victory there. And I think we can go through example, whether it's a metal contractor, whether it's your accounting firm, there are so many opportunities for these big institutions to redirect their spending to Newark businesses and to help grow them.
Talk about high-speed internet issues and access to Newark residents and businesses. Big issue.
Absolutely. So Newark has been, in every century of American history, a key part of our infrastructure, whether that's the ports, the railroads, the highways, the airport. That's been central to the city and its economic trajectory. The internet is the 21st century version. A lot of people don't know that the actual physical infrastructure behind the internet, the stuff that makes this conversation possible, a lot of that is centralized in Newark, on Halsey Street, actually. So Newark has the fortune from this immense infrastructure perspective to have that right here in the city. It's, for old time Newarkers, it's underneath the old Bamberger store. That's where the Newark node of internet is. We want to make sure that not only is this high-speed internet for the corporations, for people around America who are making use of this infrastructure, but for everyday Newarkers. And what we saw in the pandemic was the impact of the digital divide in education for people who are trying to Zoom in from work. If they're one of the many Newarkers doing that on their phone or not at all, that's something we can't have. So we need to take advantage of the infrastructure that we're blessed with in this city and make sure it's actually accessible and affordable to everybody here. Whether you're in the South Ward, North Ward, wherever, it has to be beyond the downtown.
Or the Ironbound.
Or the East Ward or the West Ward or any ward.
Just want to name all 5 wards in the city.
Yes.
This is Evan Weiss. He's the president and chief executive officer of the Newark Alliance. Evan, we thank you for joining us and wish you and your colleagues all the best.
Thank you very much, Steve.
You got it. I'm Steve Adubato. That's Evan Weiss. We'll see you next time.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Kane University, Prudential Financial, RWJ Barnabas Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, PSC&G, the Fidelco Group, PNC, Grow Up Great, the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, and by the Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Hi, I'm Abby. You might see me as an ordinary person, but I've been living with a brain injury since 2018. Opportunity Project gave me hope, and I've gained confidence through job skill training and helping my family. Despite my challenges with memory, I see a possibility to keep improving.
If you have a brain injury, you don't have to face your road to recovery alone. Learn more about Opportunity Project and its partnership with Children's Specialized Hospital.